Okay, everyone, we have covered the basic definitions and relationships chapter we have started, and till now we have covered almost 9 points. In this lecture, in this second lecture, we are going to study what is the scope of civil engineering, what is cohesive soil and what is cohesionless soil. Then after that, three-phase diagram in terms of a porosity, void ratio, volume and weight. Okay, so these three parts we are going to cover in this lecture. So we will first start what is the scope of soil engineering. Okay, or we can say with respect to our subject, what is the scope of geotechnical engineering. That is, we are going to start. So soil engineering is having a very wide scope. So that's why in that scope these 7 points are there. That is foundations, retaining structures, stability of a slope, underground structures, pavement design, earth dam and miscellaneous soil problems. Out of that, if we consider foundations, okay, the foundation, I have drawn the diagram here. The foundation can be shallow and the foundation can be deep. Whenever we say a shallow foundation, it means that the base of that foundation is just below the ground level. Okay, or in another by the Terzaghi we can say, as it defines, when the depth of foundation is equal to width of foundation or less than width of foundation, then that will be a shallow foundation. So this type of foundations are constructed when the hard strata is available at very shallow depth. But in case of a pile foundations, when the strata is available at very greater depth, then we will provide pile foundation, okay, which will be having more length as compared to their dimensions, and for any foundation, any footing, we will require almost 3 piles are compulsory. So this is the scope of a civil engineering. If we are dealing with the foundation, they are shallow foundation and they are deep foundation. Okay, but if you want to study this, if you want to study this soil engineering, after that the retaining structures. So whenever we want to retain certain soil, sometimes because of the limitation of a space, what happens, we cannot provide slope. Okay, the soil cannot stand its own. It will have a slope, certain slope. So as to avoid that slope and so as to save the space, we will construct the retaining wall. So this is the retaining wall. Okay, and this is the soil. If the retaining wall was not there, then the soil will be like this. Suppose it will not stand like this, it will fail and it will be like this. Okay, but we don't want that, so that's why we have constructed this retaining wall. And on this retaining wall there will be the pressure acting because of this soil in this direction also and in downward direction also. Okay, so for the design of this retaining wall, we will require the knowledge from the soil engineering. After that, for retaining of a soil, as we have constructed the retaining wall, we can also construct a retaining wall from the sheet piles. Okay, so this is the sheet pile and this is the level here of a ground and this is the another level of a ground. So to have these different levels, we have inserted a certain sheet. That is nothing but a sheet pile. So here will be there will be also pressure from this direction. Here there will be the pressure from this direction because of the soil. Depending on the water content in the soil, type of a soil, the pressure will act. Okay, so if we consider to have a design of all these structures that are used in a soil engineering, we need to have, in civil engineering, we need to have the knowledge of soil engineering. So it becomes the scope of soil cannot stand in vertical direction. Okay, because of its self weight, because of water in it, it will slide down and it will acquire a natural slope. So that's why we always construct a slope. In case of a road, there will be slope in embankment. Okay, suppose this is the roadway and this is the slope that is provided along the both sides of this road, and this is the road in a cutting and here is the slope. Okay, that slope is decided with the principle and with the theory of a soil engineering, and the stability is also maintained with the help of some of the theories from the soil engineering. So this is what the stability of a slope. After that, if we consider the underground conduit or underground structure, in that case, what happens? Suppose this is a tunnel. Okay. In case of a tunnel, definitely there will be the pressure acting from the vertical direction like this. There will be the pressure acting in a horizontal direction like this. So it is in case of a conduit also nothing but the pipe. Okay, there will be the pressure which will acting like this, like this, like this, and like this, because of this soil surrounding this conduit. Okay, or in case of a tunnel, whenever we are driving the tunnel, or whenever we are having the shaft, whatever be the rock is there. Okay, we need to study the rock, how it is. Okay, whether there is a fault or not, like that we have to study. So for designing of this tunnel, for the designing of the conduit, we need to study the pressure acting on this wall of this tunnel or of this conduit. So for that we need a soil engineering. So this is what the scope of a soil engineering. Next is pavement design. That is a pavement design. Pavement is nothing but the hard layer of a road on which vehicle will travel. While constructing the pavement, actually below the top surface there are several layers. I have shown this in a diagram. That is, there is a surface that is nothing but bituminous surfacing on which road, on which vehicle travels. After that there is a base. After that there is a sub base, and at last there is a subgrade on which all the pavement is there. So while designing this, there is a scientific way to design all the gradation of the soil within this. So for that we need to have a knowledge of a soil engineering. After that, earthen dam. Earthen dam is nothing but a dam which is constructed of only soil. Okay, so it stores the water at the upstream side. It consists of various parts. There will be the core that will govern the stability of this earthen dam. There is a filter for water which is seeping through the body of a dam. So we need to have a very good knowledge of a soil engineering. We need to compact this soil to the desired degree of a compaction. That also depends on the knowledge of a properties of a soil. So this is nothing but the scope of a soil engineering. So you can say that for civil engineering, the soil engineering very must subject. So these are the various scopes, that is foundation, retaining structure, stability of slopes, underground structure, pavement design, earthen dam, and miscellaneous soil problem. Whenever we consider the miscellaneous soil problems, there are so many problems arising in a civil engineering. Suppose there is a building which is constructed on a black cotton soil by mistake, and there is a suppose uplift pressure because of the swelling of that soil, and that because of that the floor has disturbed, or floor the tiles are broken. In that case, what you will do? You need to handle that problem, and for that you should have the knowledge of a soil engineering. Okay, next part is cohesive soil and cohesionless soil. So what is the difference between cohesive soil and cohesionless soil is that in case of a cohesive soil, there is a force of attraction between the two solid particles, but in case of a cohesionless soil, there is no force of attraction between these solid particles of a soil. In case of a cohesive soil, the cohesive soil is formed because of the chemical decomposition of rocks, and that because of that chemical decomposition, the new minerals are formed. In case of a cohesive soil, if you consider this solid particle, and all of this particle, if we are considering, the water get absorbed by this particle. So when we say water is absorbed and when we say water is absorbed, there is a distinct difference between these two. When we say absorbed, it means that water has reached inside the solid particle. But when we say it is absorbed, it means that water has formed a sticky layer around this soil particle. As a cohesive soil, it will be having mutual force of attraction between the two solid particles. In addition to that, there is a water layer around this solid particle, isn't it? So that's why it will glide over each other. Because of there is a mutual force of attraction, they will try to come together, but there is a water, so that's why it will help to glide them over each other. So because of this, it will have plasticity. If we give example of a cohesive soil, it can be a clay and it can be a plastic silt. In case of a cohesive soil, the surface forces are predominant because their behavior will be governed by the surface forces. Why surface forces? Because there is a mutual attraction is there, as I have already said. But as these particles are very small, they will be having more specific area. As there is a more specific area, and because of that there will be the more force of attraction. So that's why they are plastic in a nature. In case of a cohesionless soil will be having somewhat more dimension. Okay, and they are formed because of the physical disintegration. Cohesionless soil are not formed because of the chemical decomposition. The procedure of formation, the process of formation is through the physical disintegration. So that's why each and every particle is separate. They do not have the force of attraction acting between them. If you are adding water between it, water in the soil, that won't change their behavior, it will remain same. If we want to give the example of cohesionless soil, it can be non-plastic silt. Here we have said plastic silt, but in this case we have said it is a non-plastic silt, sand and gravel. So they have somewhat bigger size and their behavior is governed by the force acting on it because of its mass. Okay, in this case surface is important, in this case size is important. Okay, so this is the part of cohesive soil and cohesionless soil. Okay, then we will go for the next. Okay, so this is the last part of our lecture, soil as a three-phase system. So as I have already said that the soil is a very complex material and it is porous. Whenever say it is a complex material, why it is complex? Because it will be having solid particles are there, water and air is present. Sometimes there is only water and sometimes there is only air. So it is a complex material. So whenever we are analyzing the soil, we need to have a certain term, and for that certain term we need to have a certain relationship between these three constituents. And so that for that what do? This complex material will be simplified. And then how to simplify that? So in case of a soil, as air is there, water is there and solid particles are there, these three will be separated, these three will be segregated. So how we segregate it? That the solid particles are kept at the bottom, then after that water at the top of the solid particles, and then after that air at the top of this water. Okay, so this is newly formed diagram. So this is the original soil, but so as to simplify it and for how easy understanding, for having derivation of various terms, for the analysis of a soil, what do? We simplify it and convert that into block diagram or a phase diagram. Okay, so this phase diagram can be expressed in terms of volume, in terms of mass and in terms of weight. Okay, so this is the three-phase diagram. Whenever we say mass, the mass of air will be negligible, weight of air will be negligible. So whenever we say mass of, whenever say voids in a soil, then what it will be? Volume of air and volume of water, when these both are added together, then it will form volume of voids. And whenever say mass of solids only, then it will be this mass of solid. Okay, now suppose the soil is totally saturated. Okay, what it means saturated? It means all the voids that are present in the soil are occupied by water. Okay, so it will be like this. So when soil is fully saturated, whatever be the air is air was there in case of a three-phase diagram, that will be eliminated and only there will be the water will remain and solid particles will be remain. So this is fully saturated. It means that all the voids within the soil are filled with the water. Then so what happens here? The three-phase diagram is converted into two-phase diagram. In case of a dry soil, there will be the voids in the soil will be totally occupied by only air will be there. Okay, like this. Volume of water will not be there, only there will be the, okay, so there will be only air here, mass of air, weight of air. Okay, like this it will be there. So it is again a two-phase diagram, a dry soil. All the voids are filled with the air and there is no water present. So three-phase diagram may get converted into two-phase diagram when the soil is dry and saturated. Okay, so now we will learn the various terms that are derived by simplification of this complex material into a simple block diagram or phase diagram. So we are going through just two terms, void ratio and porosity. Okay, if you consider void ratio with respect to three-phase diagram, it is denoted by E, okay, and it is nothing but the ratio of volume of voids divided by volume of solids. When we say volume of voids, it will be nothing but the volume of a soil which is occupied by volume of air plus volume of water, if both are present. But if it is a dry, then there will be the volume of air, and when it is a fully saturated, then that will be total volume of water. Okay, so it is nothing but the volume of voids divided by volume of solids. So this will be the part. Okay, so in case of a volume of voids, there are coarse soil is there and fine soil is there. Where will be the maximum proportion of voids? So in case of a coarse grain soil, what happens, the solid particles are of bigger size. Okay, so their void will be of a larger volume, but the number of void will be less in case of a coarse soil. But in case of a fine grain soil, the particle will be very small, and the volume of certain void, volume of one void will be lesser, but the number of voids will be more. So because of that, what happens in case of a coarse grain soil, void ratio will be lesser than 1 generally, and in case of a fine soil, void ratio will be greater than 1. Okay, that is the general tendency in case of a void ratio. After that, in the porosity, the porosity is nothing but the ratio of volume of voids to the total volume. When we say total volume, it will be the volume occupied by volume of a solid, volume of water and volume of air. But when we say volume of voids, it will be only volume occupied by air and plus volume of water. That is nothing but the porosity. If we consider void ratio, the volume of a solid for a certain soil or for a certain soil, volume of a solids will remain constant. What will change? The only volume of void will change. But in case of a porosity, volume of void will change. As volume of void changes, the total volume of a soil is also going to change. So for the most of the engineering situations, where whenever there are engineering application and we come across the both term, we generally prefer void ratio. Why? Because numerator is only changing and denominator is constant. So that's why it is generally somewhat constant term. But when in case of a porosity, the volume of voids changes and total volume also changes. So that's why whenever the problems which are related to agricultural engineering, then we will deal with the porosity. There is a certain relationship between the void ratio and the porosity. We will go through it. We are going to derive the relation between the void ratio and the porosity. So what is porosity? Porosity is nothing but the total volume of voids to total volume of soil. Volume of voids to total volume of soil. The inverse of porosity, that is 1 by n, that is nothing but the total volume divided by volume of voids. But this total volume is nothing but volume of void and volume of solids, okay, divided by volume of voids. Now when we divide volume of voids by volume of voids, that will be 1, and when we divide volume of solid by volume of void, that will be nothing but the void ratio. As we know, E is volume of void divided by volume of solid. Okay, but here volume of void is at a denominator, volume of solid is at numerator, so that will be again that will be inverse. So it is 1 by E. So we got at last 1 by n is equal to 1 plus 1 by E. Okay, so now if you want a relation between these two, then 1 by n is equal to E plus 1 divided by E. So inverse of it will be N is equal to E upon 1 plus E. So this is the relation between porosity and void ratio, isn't it? After that, suppose want the relation between void ratio and porosity, then 1 by E is equal to 1 by N minus 1. Okay, so 1 by E is equal to 1 minus N divided by N. That's why inverse of it will be E is equal to N upon 1 minus N. Okay, so this is the certain relation between void ratio and porosity. If you are given with the porosity, you can find out void ratio, and if you are given void ratio, then you can find out whatever the porosity it is. So these are the terms that are derived by the simplification of a complex soil into a three-phase diagram or a block diagram. Okay, so this is the end of lecture today. The further part we will see in the next lecture. Thank you.